November 26, 2024. This will be a full commission meeting of a unified government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, as well as the planning and zoning portion. Before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that some commissioners, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom, by phone, or on site. All participants joining by phone should please mute their phones when not speaking to avoid any background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows exactly who is speaking. And please make sure you speak at an audible level so your comments can be heard and those comments can also be captured for record by our clerk. This is critical given the number of remote participants and its current guidance from the Attorney General's office. For any public members in attendance, please make sure that we recognize the decorum of this chamber, which means that disorderly conduct is strictly prohibited. I'll now call this meeting to order. Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call. Bynum. Here. Burrows.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Here.
Hill.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Stites.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Garner.
Here. All right, thank you, clerk. The invocation tonight is going to be given by Commissioner Hill. I'm sorry, Pastor Kemper is here. Good to see you, Pastor Kemper. He is the pastor of Ebenezer Ministries. That will immediately be followed by their pledge of allegiance. I'll ask everyone to please stand at this time.
Shall we bow our heads? Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business on behalf of our city. Bless and guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that the affairs reach a successful conclusion. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence. We are of a diverse opinion here. Please share a little of your wisdom with us to help us do the right thing by all concerned. Thank you for your heavenly blessing. Thank you for being the source and guidance for us today. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Kemper. Before we proceed, we're just going to take a quick moment. We received news that one of our past councilmen for the city of Kansas City, Kansas has passed, Mr. Elmer Sharp, I believe from 91 through about 93. At this time, he just joined us in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Let's continue to keep his family in our thoughts and our prayers. And I know that this commission and all the staff value and appreciate his service to the great people of Kansas City, Kansas during his term. Clerk, were there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are no revisions.
Okay. We have two items on the mayor's agenda, which is coming up next. The first item is a presentation from two of our commissioners under our Dotte Proud initiative to recognize active volunteerism by citizens, our business here in Wyandotte County. Tonight, we're honoring Italian Delight, a longtime local business, and Lindsay Lopez, an elementary student from Oak Grove Elementary School. This Dotte Proud, I hope it continues and really takes off. And it's not something that is strictly for the mayor. It is really for all of us, but our commissioners have always been out in the community doing great things. And they also recognize the great works that you do. And I appreciate our commissioners coming forward, the ones that have tonight. And I encourage our other commissioners to let's all work together to identify those unsung heroes in our community that sometimes don't get recognized, to show support and value them to show our pride of being Dotte Proud for their value in here in Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Chief of Staff, Irene Caudillo. I was close. Caudillo, but she's going to come forward and she will do the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Irene Caudillo, the mayor's office. It is Mayor, Commissioner, Assistant County Administrator House. As the mayor mentioned, though it's the mayor's initiative, it really was the opportunity for the mayor to look at folks that he has been in contact with in the community, and we actually gave the opportunity to you, and two of you responded. So it is my pleasure, not only on behalf of the two commissioners, but to introduce you to maybe someone you don't know this evening, but you'll know better. And the other, if you haven't, you should. So I will start, if you can, we're gonna start with Italian Delight. Because if you grew up in Wyandotte County, you remember shopping at Indian Springs, but you'll also remember watching businesses close and move out of Indian Springs. But yet, for some reason, we continue to go back. We continue to go to Indian Springs, and it was Italian Delight that was one of those businesses that kept us going back to Indian Springs. Well, we no longer have the shopping mall or Indian Springs as a building, but Italian Delight did eventually move out west to its current location at 8145 State Avenue, and it remains a constant in my life, should be in your lives too, and most definitely in our stomachs. So the story really begins with, and it's more humbling and inspiring when you think of the late Frank Brunetti, who grew up in Italy. He joined the Italian Navy at the age of 18, where he learned to cook. And after serving his country, and in 1971, he moved to Brooklyn, New York with his wife. He opened a sandwich shop before deciding to actually move to Kansas City, Kansas, to open Italian Delight with his friend, Joe, and I know I'm gonna mess up this last name, but if you can help me, Avaludo, in 1977. So Indian Springs to where they are now, one of the things that I hope many of you, I don't even think I have to run through the menu, but from their meatball with mozzarella sandwich to the salami sub and their variety of salads and pizzas, they are a staple in Wyandotte County. So on behalf of Commissioner Melissa Bynum, and to continue this Dotte Proud recognition, we not only honor the late Frank Brunetti for the many years of his delicious experiences and the current owners of Italian Delight, Renee Brunetti and Daniela Randall. So I will ask Commissioner Bynum if she would say a few words on behalf of her nomination, and then we'll let the family come up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Irene. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited that my first nomination for this award is Italian Delight, and the family, when the mayor announced it, it was the first thing I thought of. So thank you for taking time to come and be with us tonight. My love affair with pizza began many, many decades ago, and that was in large part due to Italian Delight. And So many wonderful, wonderful lunches and meals spent with friends and coworkers at the Indian Springs location. And when they moved out west, I was fearful because it's only like a mile from my house now. And I was like, uh-oh, we're in real trouble, and we are. That is true. I loved watching Frank in action. I loved Frank dearly, and I know you did too. And I would particularly get enjoyment from watching him negotiate the prices of items for the restaurant, like lettuce. And it was just so much fit. That's too high. It's too much money. It was really fun. My family has enjoyed so many trays of lasagna for many, many family celebrations. I've taught my children to love Italian delight, and you even have vegan items for my daughter. So thank you for that. I've seen Italian Delight give back to the community in so many ways, not the least of which is just making us happy by the food that you serve on your menu. So what we're doing here tonight is just a really small way to say thank you for making so many of us so happy. And I appreciate that you've come here, and congratulations.
So if Commissioner Bynum and the mayor could come down, please congratulate Italian Delight and family members that are here today. But I also I want to make sure you know that they're still in business, so they're working. But Renee Brunetti and his family are here to accept the presentation. Come on over. All right, ready? On three. One, two, three. If he'd like to, just if you'd like to say something. You are more than one.
Thank you, everyone. To the people of Wyandotte County. It was, I don't know, my dad loved this place. It was a no-brainer that at the last moment, he stayed at Indian Springs until they basically were gonna knock it down like the next week. Chuck, you know, right? And I spent a lot of time with Chuck over there because Chuck hung out at the mall a lot back when I was a kid, or when we were kids, actually. And anyway, it was a no-brainer for us to move to a mile away, basically, from Indian Springs Mall and stay open like we have the last 12 to 13 years. And we'll be there for however long there is. So we love Wyandotte County. We love Kansas City, Kansas. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right, we can move to the next slide, please. Our next honoree, I'm going to start with information from actually Oak Grove principal, Mr. Jeremy Brigham. And he states that at Oak Grove Elementary, he and staff consistently talk to their students about demonstrating Panther pride. and which is being positive and respectful, having integrity, being dedicated, and striving for excellence. And he says Lindsay Lopez not only exemplifies these traits, but so much more. Whether as a member of the Spirit Club, as a teacher's assistant helping with preschool students, or just in everyday interactions with others, the principal says Lindsay goes above and beyond to make Oak Grove a special place for all students. So it was last school year. She's a bit older now. So as a fourth grader, she's now a fifth grader. So as a fourth grader, when she was a little bit younger, Lindsay took the initiative to present the principal with a letter. See that letter in the middle? That letter reads, "Dear Mr. B, I think we should have a buddy bench. So if a kid doesn't have a friend, that will be a sign to other kids that someone needs a friend. If you want this school to be the nicest school in the community, then take this idea and make it to life. You've got this," she says. Love, Lindsay. Well, thanks to Lindsay's initiative, an Eagle Scout, Nate Firminger, took her idea and built them for the school as a part of his Eagle Scout project. Today, these benches, as you can see, are located near the basketball goals and the playground. And I want to end with Lindsay's fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez. So at the time this was happening, she says, "I think every teacher can attest when we become teachers, we want to make a positive change in our students' lives. But over the course of her 7 years of teaching, there are students who changed the teachers' lives, and Lindsay was one of those students." She states, "For those who know Lindsay, know that she has faced a lifetime of adversity. For those who truly know Lindsay, know that she faces adversity and laughs in its face." Her initiative to create a buddy bench shows not only her creativity, but also her deep empathy for others. She says it's inspiring to see young people take action to make our school community more inclusive and kinder. She's a true leader, and I know this is and she knows her teacher says it's only the beginning of the wonderful impact she will make on the world. So on behalf of Commissioner Lopez and continuing the Dotte Proud recognition, we honor Lindsay Lopez, fifth grader at Oak Grove Elementary School. Commissioner, say a few words and then we'll bring the family up.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to keep it together. She's just a all-around beautiful person. Lindsay Lopez, it is my honor to present you with this Dotte Proud card in recognition of your exceptional service to our community and your thoughtful initiative with the Buddy Bench Project. Your kindness and selfishness are an inspiration to us all. Your strength gives me strength, demonstrating the true spirit of what it means to be Dotte Proud. You are a true angel. You are a true saint. On behalf of Wyandotte County, thank you from the bottom of my heart for making a positive difference in the lives of so many. We are forever in your debt. Commissioner Lopez, 6th District.
If we can have Commissioner and the mayor come down. On three. One, two.
I wanted to do this since I was in first grade, but I never found the courage to do it. But I remembered my mom told me that anything's possible, and I did it in fourth grade, and now it's something bigger.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Irene. I'm gonna say Irene this time, so. And thank you, commissioners, for your nominations, and thank you to those recipients tonight. Thank you for just being committed to Wyandotte County. The Dotte Proud recognition isn't something that any of us up here, take lightly. And one of the things as mayor, I go around and I worked here for 32 years, and we hear all the bad stuff about Wyandotte County, which isn't unique to Wyandotte County, because you can go anywhere around this country and find challenges that aren't unique to Wyandotte County or any city. But what is unique to Wyandotte County is something people that we say are original dots, and even if you're not, you're an adopted dot, but people that love Wyandotte County, they love being here, they want to make Wyandotte County a better place, and those are the people that are so often overlooked. And when we say Dotte Proud, we really want to recognize the good in Wyandotte County. And what makes Wyandotte County good is our people, our neighborhoods. We've got great people, we've got great neighborhoods, and sometimes that gets overlooked. And so hopefully this first year of Dotte Proud recognitions won't be the last. Hopefully every year, whether I'm mayor or not, far beyond any of us up here, these recognitions will continue to carry forward for generations as we continue to recognize the good in Wyandotte County, the good people in Wyandotte County, to let the world know that Wyandotte County is truly a great and safe place to live, to work, and raise a family. And the people that live here because they want to be here are the reason for that. So thank you.
Mayor, oh, go. Before I miss it, I'm sorry, I missed your clap. Mayor, I apologize. One of the things I neglected is, Lindsay's mother is Spanish speaking, and what, Anna, Marin, your assistant, took the time to actually translate, in Spanish so she'd know, what was said. But she also actually wants, to give, to say a few words.
Yes, please.
¿Es en español, sí? Sí.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Quiero darles las gracias. Estoy muy emocionada el que nos hayan invitado y a Lindsay.
She wants to give Commissioner Ramirez a thank you for, so sorry. Commissioner Lopez, oopsie. Okay, Commissioner Lopez, she wants to thank you for inviting her and Lindsay.
Tiene un gran corazón.
You have a big heart.
Este proyecto no pensamos que fuera a ser tan sonado, gracias al director, nos han acogido muy bien en el distrito de Turner. Estoy eternamente agradecida. Tengo muchos años viviendo en este país, del cual que siempre me he sentido ajena, pero gracias a los directivos de la escuela de Turner, estoy eternamente agradecida y me siento como en casa.
Okay, she never thought that the buddy benches would be, like a big deal. So when she brought it up, she got the support from the school and she's been living here for a few years now and not once did she ever feel welcome. But thanks to the buddy bench and the principal of the Turner School, she's been accepted and she is very thankful for you all.
Es un excelente distrito.
It's an excellent district.
Espero y los demás sean así tan buenos. Nosotros nos movimos hace tiempo de donde vivíamos, pero no me quise salir de Turner por lo excelente que es.
She said that,
Nos movimos de casa,
okay,
pero
so she
mismo dentro de
moved,
Turner.
okay, she moved houses, but she wanted to stay in Turner because of how good Turner is. She hopes that the rest of the districts are like that as well.
Espero en un futuro puedan tener algunos juegos para niños con silla de ruedas.
She hopes that in the future, the schools can have games for the students who are in wheelchairs.
Muy agradecida por todo.
She's very grateful for everything.
Thank you again. And thank you, Anna. You know, when Anna first came to our office, she's young. She was shy. It really took a lot to get anything out of her. But as you saw tonight, she's really come into her leadership role. And so we're so thankful here at the Unified Government to have Anna as a valued member of the Unified Government. She's behind the scenes, working hard every day, answering the phone, taking complaints, funneling people to where they need to go. And as you saw tonight, helping out in things that really matter. So thank you, Anna, for that translation. I'm going to open it up. Are there any comments from our commissioners in regards tonight? Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, to Italian Delight, thank you for your continued dedication to our city and our county and just to our citizens. I believe our lasagna tonight was from Italian Delight, and it was amazing, as always. So I want to thank you for your continued service, and I hope Wyandotte County is home forever. To Lindsay, just like Commissioner Lopez, I'm gonna try to collect myself. I'm an educator, and so hearing that story hits me in the heart, because that's why I became an educator. So thank you for your kind heart.
Okay, any other commissioners? Commissioner Lopez.
There you go. Italian Delight, phenomenal. My dad was a Kansas City, Kansas police officer for 35 years. He worked security at Dillard's and Indian Springs Mall. We ate there a lot. Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Thank you very much, and thank you for what you do on your give back. You know, that's one of there's 6 rules to success, and the 6th rule is give back. It's something back. To Lindsay, you're awesome. I'm just a savage cowboy, and you brought this savage cowboy to his knees. You are truly an angel. I love it. And you guys are I'm just so glad that you find Turner your home. It's been my home for all 48 years of my life. And I'm so glad that you can now call it home. And I'm on your payroll. So anything you ever need, you just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis.
very, very briefly to the folks at Italian Delight. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know especially in this current time, it's been very, very difficult for small business owners to stay afloat, to stay operating, to have reasonable prices at this time, and to have folks that are well employed and that enjoy their job. That really, really speaks volumes to you all as a family, to your father, right, that started the business. And so thank you all. You all are just near my district, so I'm very, very well acquainted and have patronized multiple times, sometimes more than I should. But thank you all so much, because really I know that there are a lot of businesses that would dream to be where you all are at right now, where you're still open, you're still operating, your doors are still open to Wyandotte County and the rest of the metro. So thank you. To Lindsay, you are a leader. You are a leader, and I'm sure this will be one of many times where we hear your name, where you will be doing great things. And so I hope this is nothing but the floor and that the sky's the limit. And who knows, one day we'll be sitting in the gallery, you'll be sitting up here making decisions and leading our community, because we need young voices just like yours in Wyandotte County. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. Italian Delight, Lindsay, you all are the Dotte Proud recipients. We are truly proud of you, and thank you for everything that you've done, and thank you for your love of your community. Dotte Proud. We'll now proceed with the items. I'm sorry. We'll go to item number 2, which is the proclamation on the Rosedale Memorial Arch 100th day anniversary. Clerk, if you could read that in its entirety, that is something really special for our community when you talk about our veterans and what that arch represents. It's an iconic centerpiece, not just in Rosedale, but in the eastern portion of our city that can be seen from various vantage points, and it's been a staple, and 100 years, I believe, precedes all of us. And so if you can read that.
Proclamation. Whereas the Rosedale Memorial Arch located in Mount Marty Park was originally dedicated 100 years ago today on the 7th of September in the year 1924, and whereas was dedicated to honoring the local men who fought in World War I, many so bravely in the Rainbow Ammunition Division, and whereas the community of Rosedale raised money to fund the construction and lovingly planned a parade and ceremony to dedicate the arch, and whereas the arch has stood for 100 years as both a symbol to local citizens who have fought in foreign wars and to the generous spirit of the Rosedale community, and whereas it stands proudly above Rainbow and Southwest Boulevards as a landmark of both Rosedale and Kansas City, Kansas, and whereas the Rosedale community stands by to ensure our beloved arch remains standing for the next 100 years, now therefore I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September 7, 2024 as Rosedale Memorial Arch 100th Day in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Thank you, Clerk. I can say that it means a lot to me. I actually live in Rosedale, and Commissioner Ramirez, that's his district. So not only am I his mayor and his neighbor, but he's also my commissioners as well. And we support the group, I believe it is Rosedale, one of the MBRs there, Rosedale Development Corporation, Association, I'm sorry. Thank you. Put this on, and I was out there that day. They put on a real good celebration. A lot of vendors, good music, good entertainment, a really awesome celebration to acknowledge what occurred. And really, if you really want to look at it, just me being a veteran, really just paying homage of what the arch really represents. And it's about those individuals that did a great service in the armed forces for our community. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to thank RDA for putting on the celebration and the festival for the day. It was good. It was very well attended. Rosedale Arch is one of those staples of Rosedale that everyone knows. I have a Rosedale pin, and it's the arch. That's what the pin is. In the middle of the arch is a rose for Rosedale. And Being part of the ceremony, the rededication ceremony, and hearing all the stories of all the people that were up on stage with me of their connection to the arch, and learning and just hearing how deep of history the arch is, and how much Rosedale, just in general, Rosedale provided during the time of the wars and their dedication and service to our country. And so I just all want to thank all past and current service members for your making the ultimate sacrifice to serve and protect our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now proceed with the items on the planning and zoning portion of our agenda. As we move into that, Clerk, if you could read the statement required by state law governing the planning and zoning portion of this meeting, followed by the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
Good evening. We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor CEO Tyrone Garner, Commissioner Melissa Bynum, at-large District 1, Commissioner Tom Burrows, at-large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Bill Burns, District 2, Commissioner Christian Ramirez, District 3, Commissioner Evelyn Hill, District 4, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Phil Lopez, District 6, Commissioner Chuck Stites, District 7, and Commissioner Andrew Davis, District 8. As each petition is called, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before the commission has three options. 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with a statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the planning and zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or others, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all of the items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government Commission at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the mayor will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to come to the microphone and provide the agenda item to be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If you're joining us virtually, this is your time to raise your hand and, once acknowledged, provide the agenda item to be set aside. If you contacted the UG Clerk's office, that item will be set aside by the UG Clerk on your behalf. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted on separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would, however, remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone, please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. If joining us virtually or by phone, we ask that you mute your phone when not speaking to avoid background noise so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioners make their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 3 minutes to state their views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and city for the record if attending in person. This is your time to raise your hand if you're joining us virtually. When your name is called, please state your name and city for the record. The mayor and commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any item on the planning and zoning agenda. At this time, does any member of the commission wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the agenda?
Are there any disclosures from our commissioners? Okay. Seeing none. I'll read this statement. Do any members of the commission, the county? You back up. Clerk is going to read the items.
I'll now read the items on the consent agenda. Change of zone applications, item 1, COZ 2024-019, John Simpson with BHC Roads. Change of zone from R2B to Family District to CP2 Planned General Business District for a parking lot at 813 South Pile Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0. Special use permit applications. Item 1, SP 2024-052, Robin Beebe. Renewal of a special use permit for a short-term rental at 3716 Springfield Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0 for 2 years. Item 3, SP 2024-053, Rebecca Samuel with Blue Atlas LLC. Renewal of a special use permit for a short-term rental at 4016 Springfield Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0 for 2 years. Item 3, SP 2024-056, Jesus Gerardo Gonzalez with G&J Entertainment. Renewal of a special use permit for live entertainment at an existing restaurant at 4929 State Avenue. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0 for 5 years. Item 4, SP 2024-058, Regina Compernell with Sacred Earth Arts LLC. Renewal of a special use permit for the temporary use of land for a commercial farmstead at 4141 Joyce Drive. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0 for 2 years. Item 5, SP 2024-060, Tyler Reynolds. Renewal of a special use permit for a short-term rental at 527 Tenny Avenue. Recommended for approval by a vote of 10-0 for 2 years. Miscellaneous ordinances. Item 1, an ordinance rezoning property at approximately 6111 Leavenworth Road from C1 Limited Business District to RP4 Planned Garden Apartment District. Recommended for approval. Item 2, an ordinance rezoning property at approximately 9400 State Avenue from AG Agricultural District to CP3 Planned Commercial District. Recommended for approval. Item 3, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for 10 managed care units for temporary housing and office for Wyandotte County Behavioral Health at 6111 Leavenworth Road. Recommended for approval. Item 4, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 10 South Halleck Street. Recommended for approval. Item 5, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 1945 West Lawrence Court. Recommended for approval. Item 6, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for a private club with live entertainment at a smoking lounge at 407 North Sixth Street. Recommended for approval. Item 7, an ordinance vacating street right-of-way at 534 Garnett Avenue. Recommended for approval. Item 8, an ordinance vacating utility easement repealing ordinance 07624 passed by the Board of Commissioners on July 11, 2024, and published in the Wyandotte Echo on July 25th, 2024, and enacting a new ordinance vacating 7908 State Avenue. Recommended for approval. Item 9, an ordinance vacating a portion of right-of-way at 7161 State Avenue. Recommended for approval. This represents all the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Clerk. Do any members of the commission, the county administrator, or the public wish to set aside any item on the planning and zoning consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the planning and zoning consent agenda will be voted on by one vote to follow the recommendation of the planning commission.
Kane, move for approval.
Burrow, second.
Okay. Before I accept those motions, clerk, has anyone contacted your office for an item to be set aside?
We've had no contact.
Is there anyone in attendance that would like to have an item set aside? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually that'd like to have an item set aside?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes the planning and zoning portion of tonight's meeting. We will now move to the regular portion of our agenda, which takes us to the regular consent agenda. Do any members of the commissioners or the county administrator wish to set aside any items on the regular consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the regular consent agenda will be voted on by one vote. I will
Move.
entertain a motion.
Move to approve all items as submitted.
Davis, second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the standing committee's agenda. Item number one is an approval of a resolution authorizing disbursement of ARPA funding in the amount of $35,778 to neighborhood grants. This item was heard by the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee on September 26th, chaired by Commissioner Bynum. It was fast-tracked here tonight. The committee approved the item with a unanimous vote. Commissioner Bynum, comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your support in allowing this to come forward to the Administration and Human Services Committee. And it was unanimously approved. This restores the neighborhood grants that go through livable neighborhoods to registered neighborhood groups in the community for the year 2025. So we very much appreciate it and motion to approve.
Davis, second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the second item, which is, or the last item as well. It's it's under the standing committee's agenda for approval of a resolution authorizing disbursement of ARPA funding in the amount of $15,000 for all access park benches. This item was heard by the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee on September 26, 2024, chaired by Commissioner Bynum. The committee approved this item with a unanimous vote. Commissioner Bynum, comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Angel Ferrara, the Director of Parks, did come to that meeting and she provided us some slides of 2 or 3 different versions of parks. Oh, did you have those?
We do.
Excellent. I just thought it might be interesting to look because the 15,000 allocation would put benches or accessible picnic tables in both at Wyandotte County Park and then even in another location. One of the comments that we heard, Mayor, in our special session about the ARPA money was the desire to have the accessible benches and possibly the picnic tables. And so what she brought forward were cost estimates for those items, and for the 15,000, we might be able to have them in a couple of places, including Wyandotte County Park, where the all-inclusive play park is. And with that, I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion. There's a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor. I know part of this has a $15,000 allocation to all-inclusive benches. I think we heard this evening the importance of a buddy bench and what it means for those that want to participate with those around them when it's very difficult for them to do so. I know I raised a concern in a meeting earlier this month in reference to having for the sake of, I'll call it a buddy bench at the all-inclusive park. And it was quite a statement that I made. Mayor, I'm uncomfortable with using ARPA funds to do this. The request was made 5 years ago. I truly believe the funding could have been paid for through Parks and Rec's regular budget. And I just don't want to be associated. I don't want this subject matter to be associated to ARPA funds when the funds were initially set aside and should have been available through Parks and Rec's budget initially. I brought the fact up that the benches hadn't been put in at a request made 5 years ago when the all-inclusive park was dedicated to those in Wyandotte County. But yet today I see it here as part of the ARPA funds. I am absolutely adamant about keeping these funds whole, keeping them back as a part of our revenue neutral fiscal stability. And it just pains me to see that now we're going to reach into ARPA funds and start making allowances. And one of the allowances I requested is going to be the first one out of the gate for additional spending. I truly would like to make a motion that the benches move forward, but it come out of the Parks and Recs budget and not ARPA funding. That would be my motion.
Mayor, I'm willing to retract my motion.
I would check my second as well.
Okay, clerk, before we move on, clerk, if you can capture that for the record, and then Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one came out of discussion in committee of the park benches and whatnot, and I do support it. It's an allowable by our CFO said it was an allowable expense through the ARPA funds. We can put it to the parks budget, but again, we just went revenue neutral and they have less of a budget than they do this year. So I ask, where are we going to find the 15,000 to do the park benches if we already cut their budget already? So that's my only question.
I'll ask the CFO to come forward. To coincide with the both commissioners' concerns and question, the question I would have is, I believe it was about 1.4 million that was set aside, give or take, is a rough estimate. This went to standing committee with several items that I allowed to be brought forward to 5 of the commissioners for consideration. These are the 2 things that came out. It's my understanding that there were more items that are going to require further discussion. Is that correct, Commissioner Bynum? Yes. The question I have to coincide with the Commissioner Burrow's concern, and then the concern, hopefully you've caught that, of Commissioner Ramirez, as well as I have an additional question. These ARPA dollars, that 1.4 million that was left over, were those dollars already allocated to be spent prior to them circling back for reallocation consideration?
Shelley Knieven, Chief Financial Officer. So the 1.4 million that was available, that was put to the county's general fund balance, were ARPA dollars that were back in 2021 reclassified as revenue replacement. We actually filed a report with the U.S. Treasury and offset our salary cost for those dollars. Initially, those dollars were set aside for grant match, which we had about 3.5 million originally. A number of grants had actually come through and we had used some of those funds, but there was $2.1 million left. And so we put that on the table for the commission to discuss if you wanted to reallocate those to specific initiatives. But because it was back in 2021, it was revenue replacement, which is different than the revenue replacement that we've had recently designated in 23 and 24. So I know it is confusing. The ARPA rules evolved through the pandemic and over time, but these dollars are no different than if they were the county or the city's general fund dollars because of how it was reported and what was permitted by ARPA dollars by the Treasury Department. So I hope that explains a little bit, which is why these particular dollars, albeit were originated as ARPA funds, did go through a process and they can sit in our county's general fund balance without a requirement to encumber or spend them by a certain date. So they're a bit unique, a bit different. However, to answer Commissioner Burrow's comment, and conversations I had with the Park Department Director, who I do not think is here tonight, I do believe they received a grant from AARP, so not ARPA, but the other ARPA. And so they have a grant that they said is available to fund those benches should that be the commission's desire. They are eligible for that grant. They had not decided how to use those dollars quite yet. So it would be certainly something we could substitute, should that be your all's desire. Or if you want to keep them as part of this resolution through the revenue replacement dollars back from 21, that's certainly permitted as well. It's just whatever your desire is.
Commissioner Townsend, this question?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Townsend, District 1. I think Commissioner Ramirez shared a similar concern during the meeting that we talked about ARPA dollars. It was my understanding that Commissioner Burrows brought that up so that we could consider that for ARPA allocation that night. And I had the privilege of sitting in as a voting member Monday night on the AHS standing committee. So that was my understanding. But if we're going to do something else, look at some other funding source, then I think we need to consider that in the context of the budget all, not necessarily night, because I too raised about money that I've been asking for years to replace Boston Daniels walls that are crumbling and stonework near the swimming pool in Parkwood. So if they're not going to be used, if these benches are not going to be used from ARPA, then I think we need to have another discussion at another time if they're going to come out of the budget. Thank you.
Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a,
Okay.
And I don't know why a bench would cost $15,000. Still a lot. Probably three of them. But that, it's the bench and the concrete.
I think I have. the floor.
Commissioner Bynum and then Commissioner Stites. Thank you.
Mayor, at the meeting that night, there was also a motion and a second and a vote taken requesting another special session because of the list of like 9 items that had actually come forward. We voted to allow the 2 that are on this agenda to be funded with a motion and a second and a vote for the rest of those to come to another special session, because those were in addition to the ones that we had looked at in the special session of a couple weeks ago. So if that brings any clarity at all to the situation, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. It does. Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7. Well, here's what I'm going to say. And I don't know how it is that 5 commissioners, not all 10, get to be involved in the distribution of the allocated leftover ARPA dollars, right? It should have went to a full standing committee or a full special session so we can all talk about it and not fund our pet projects out of each one of them. Now, I'm not saying they're not worthy of it, but to not be involved, I haven't been asked. Nobody's talked to me about it. And and one of the things that we cut out of that is this money goes back into the county. One of the very first things that we cut out of our county budget was sci-fi, which benefits every single city and every single square mile of roads in our county. But yet we're not talking about that. We could partially fund, is sci-fi an eligible expenditure for this money?
Yes, Commissioner, for the 1.4 million, it's just like it's regular county money. So
Right.
it would be eligible. And as Commissioner Bynum said, there was consensus that the whole commission needed to talk about the list of projects, as well as be asked for input on other initiatives that they may want to have discussed and considered. And so there's been some discussions recently about scheduling a special session.
Once again, commissioners left out of the process. Bonner Springs, Edwardsville left out of the process. Sci-fi, we could we could partially fund it. It was the number one thing, first thing that was whacked out of the county budget. And now we have an opportunity to put dollars back that all three cities, Kansas City, Kansas, Edwardsville, and Bonner Springs, desperately need to help with our crumbling infrastructure.
I understand. Yeah. When we had our update back in May on ARPA dollars, and this is back in May to the full commission, I will say at that time, we did ask commissioners to provide feedback on things that they would like to see funded. And I did get a variety of different requests that were submitted at that time. So those could also be put on the table for discussion, including some partial funding for sci-fi. As you all also know, and this was a caution we gave at the committee discussion, is that these dollars were set aside for the county general fund balance in particular, because that fund balance is at 8%, not the 25%. And we know that we were not able to fully fund the requested budget for the sheriff at the jail for housing and medical and food contracts. So we did ask that at least $1 million, that there be a hold on allocating those dollars until we have had some time into 2025 to see how the sheriff's office and the jail expenses are going. But that's simply a request of staff and would be part of the discussion that you all would have at a special session. We just need direction on how you guys would ultimately like to allocate these dollars.
And I'm guessing since this goes back into the county budget, that we reached out to Bonner Springs and Edwardsville to ask them if they have any needs that these dollars could potentially help them with, right?
We didn't reach out to not only the other cities, but we didn't reach out to any of the other.
The only other city that there would
nonprofits.
be is this one right here that
Right.
5 commissioners got to decide where the money goes.
There were other
That's all. Thank you.
nonprofits that requested funding, and we didn't request input from them either. So there could be other requests, is all I'm sharing with you.
Thank you. To help bring clarity, what is going to happen? I believe next Thursday, there will be a special meeting of all 10 commissioners to discuss any requests that have been brought forward, as well as any requests that you would like to be brought forward. So you all can have that discussion, debate it, and make a decision on if or if not to spend the residual ARPA dollars. If that brings some clarity, and I know staff will be seeking you all's input and direction at that time. So hopefully this can hopefully answer some questions as to what can be done moving forward. And if you have requests that you'd like added, please let myself or my chief of staff know, or the administrator's office. We will make sure that that gets on items to be considered at that time. Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Stites, exactly what you said is what we said, that we were uncomfortable with having that stuff presented to us. And actually what I said was, if I was on the other commission, I'd be pissed because they didn't get to see it. And we would never want to spend any kind of money like that without the entire commission having a say on what's going on. I felt uncomfortable when the presentation was given, is say, here's what you get to do. And once again, this was like, we're going to get $400 and some odd thousand and we're going to vote on it right now. So I was the first one to bring it up, saying that I was uncomfortable with that we had to have input from everyone, and which is the only way to go. Anytime we spend that kind of magnitude of monies, every single commissioner should be involved and bring forward whatever they want to bring forward, but that was weird for all of us. It was an uncomfortable moment because I was kind of caught off guard by, why is this being brought to us and not being brought to the full commission? So I agree with you that we all have to be there, and whatever you want to bring forward, bring forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everything what Commissioner Kane and Commissioner Stites has said. I felt the same way at the committee. I even went a little bit further and said, why are we even touching this money in the first place? It was set aside for revenue replacement in the county and the fund balance to help shore up the county. Why is it even being touched? It's encumbered. Maybe, yes, we can have the discussion of fund a portion of sci-fi since it was since it was cut out of the budget. But for my opinion, we should just leave it where it's at and not touch it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a motion on the table in reference to having Parks and Rec pay for these benches should they choose to move forward with that position out of their budget. I do agree, and I do want to thank my colleagues for giving it consideration. I don't recall asking for it that night. I just made comment that it had been requested 5 years ago and nothing had been done at that time. Since then, I have gone back out to the park and there are 2 benches. I don't know if you would call them buddy benches, but there's benches there. I don't know that that's what we were talking about when we see the different diagrams that we saw here this evening. The point being, in good conscience, this is just the beginning of spending those dollars. And I am opposed to our continued spending by picking winners and losers over minimal dollars. If we're going to right-size our budget and take care of things, there was a motion made in the committee to put this into any balance because it was unencumbered funds that could be used for anything. We have a lot of need, but to pick and choose little items here and there to make up, we have casino grant funds, we have regular grants, we also have philanthropy, but I would be very concerned about moving forward should we have an emergency or an economic downturn until we can find out, get the budget completed, or not the budget, but the budget review completed through the audit process. I'm very concerned about spending any money, and I would be remiss to say that I would really feel unprofessional by labeling this for the wrong need. There's money within the budget to do it. I believe Parks and Rec, the budget before got a 0.5% increase in their budget through the mill levy. And I think there's ample dollars there. It may not be $15. It was up to 15. But if they can't find that kind of money within their budget, Mayor, we're in worse condition than I thought we were, but I believe they ought to be able to find it. And I do thank my colleagues for their consideration, but I would ask that the 15,000 be rescinded and held over as the motion was made through, rescinded and put through the budget process for Parks and Rec.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis.
Okay, I'm slightly confused. So let me have 2 thoughts here. Dr. Knieven, if I can ask you a question, or if you can use that microphone. I mean, you can be gunner for today. So quick question. I just want to clarify. So the $1.4 million is revenue replacement, meaning we do not have to spend those dollars right now. We can encumber them and spend them at another time next year. Is that accurate?
It is accurate.
Okay. And so I honestly, colleagues, that's where I'm at for I would say the majority of it. The $15,000, we voted in favor of it really as a kind gesture. We didn't think it really would break the bank or anything. We still have plenty of dollars left over. And so we were just trying to find that happy medium to provide something that the community could see, but also be very sensitive to the fact that not all commissioners are a part of that meeting, and we are not under any pressure to spend that money at all. If I recall, the motion was to just kind of take this out of the parks budget, which I would not necessarily support. What I do think is that maybe we table this conversation regarding the benches and have that conversation at another time. That way we can actually hear from the Parks Department on what funding sources it can come from. Because if it can come from grants, great. If it can come from just their budget, that comes from sales tax, property taxes, that's fine. But I would hate to just impose something without the Parks Department here to actually give us some context. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7. So Shelley, I believe that you said that out of a ARP, the other ARPA, right, that the benches we could still move forward and get that funded. And that's where we can get that taken care of tonight, right? Not out of regular ARPA dollars.
That's my understanding from the comments that the Parks Director had made, that they do have another grant that they hadn't designated yet, and this would be perfectly suitable for that grant. But it certainly could be taken up later so that you could hear that directly from the Parks Director.
Yeah, I think that would be best. I mean, I don't want to spend, I mean, maybe they got that money marked for something else. So I don't want to spend their money for them. If they come back and ask, if that's a way that they could spend it, I'm all for that. So, but Mayor, you had asked that between now and the next time that we have the meeting, that if there's any commissioners that have anything they'd like to bring forward, any items to discuss, I'll put it, if it wasn't made abundantly clear earlier, I would like to have sci-fi discussed. Thank you.
Noted. Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take one last bite at the apple, and I do appreciate my colleagues seconding the motion to have the dollars come out of the budget of Parks and Rec. For the discussion, I think I may have made a comment that it should go back to the general fund. It should go back into the reserve fund where it came from. But I still would like to see Parks and Rec determine through their budget process where they can fund this, should they choose to fund it. It's on them to fund it. That request in the proposal was presented 5 years ago to them for the discussion. And I do want to thank my colleagues for the consideration of addressing that, but I just don't believe that ARPA funds are the proper funding mechanism for that. So I would make a motion.
Hold on.
Yep, sure can.
Thank you. Clerk, I know there was an original motion, there was a second. Both of those were withdrawn. Where are we at on? Are there any?
We had,
Yes.
Commissioner Bynum made a motion to approve, seconded by Davis, which was retracted. We have a motion pending from Commissioner Burrows to use park funds to fund this request.
Okay, now I haven't recognized that motion yet, so it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted the record to be clear and to ask my fellow commissioners to recall and go back if need be to the evening of Wednesday, September the 4th, which was the day that we had the initial special session that dealt with ARPA and what to do with this. So every commissioner was invited, was noticed. So at no time were there only 5 commissioners that were voting or putting forward proposed ARPA issues. So I would respectfully remind and ask the commissioners to go back and review those notes or look at the tape, because every one of us had the opportunity to speak about ARPA. And it's good we're having multiple chances, because I can see where some of us may have wanted to use the funds for different projects. Maybe now we have a different view of it. But every one of us was notified and invited to participate in that special meeting on the 4th of September. And my recollection was it lasted a couple of hours. Thank you, Mayor. And again, clarity on the motion, if there is one currently pending.
No.
What is the motion, the current one?
No, there's no motion, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7, I guess if I remember right, that was 2 days notice that we got that, that there was a special session to talk about that. And then there was the 5 commissioners, like was already stated, that got to decide where this money was spent in this last standing committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Townsend, thank you for your comments. I believe that motion to put the 1.485 million to reserves was the motion that I made, and the commission chose to do just that, knowing that there were numerous requests on the table. The purpose of putting that money in the reserve is to help our bottom line and just to meet emergency needs moving forward. And I do know that there was much discussion, and it went on quite quite along that evening. But I still stand by my position that I do appreciate my colleagues considering the benches, but at this time, I just don't think it's proper to pull that money out of reserve until we get the report of the audit and have a chance to discuss it. Those monies should stay in reserve. So that's my motion at this time, Mr. Mayor, to that I will okay. That the $15,000 allocated through the process go back to reserves, and that the Parks and Rec Department determine should they want to move benches forward into the parks, they find it within other revenue sources. Mayor, as far as I know, there's no other requests outside of the previous motion that was made in reference to the money that went to the neighborhood groups. The rest of the money is still in the reserves that was by action the other day, if I remember correctly. If it's not in reserves, it's in reserves. It should be in reserve. So this 15,000 that was requested to come out should go back into reserves. Okay, so it's still there. Then Mayor, that I know there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of confusion. It's a worthy cause, but at this time, I just don't believe it's appropriate to take it out of the reserves. We can find other ways to pay for it, and I would hope that the commission would give that consideration. I believe Parks and Rec can do it throughout their budget process and or grants. We heard about $100,000 grant. So my motion would be that it goes back in, the 15,000 stays in reserves, and that Parks and Rec determine if they want to fund it.
Okay. If I can respectfully help you out, Commissioner, the motion was to approve the 15,000 for the chairs. It's just a yes or no.
Yeah.
And it could be a simple vote not to approve.
Right.
I think if no action is taken this evening, then the money will not be removed from reserves and it will have the intended effect that you desire. So if no action, if the commission takes no action, it stays in reserve.
Great, thank you. I just don't want the impression that we're not supportive of putting all-inclusive benches in all-inclusive parks for the members of this community. There's a financially responsible way to do it, and that's the only concern that I think I've hopefully clearly discussed this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarity, hopefully for a final time, we had a special session on September 4th where a host of potential options were brought forward to the commission for spending some of the ARPA dollars. We had a lengthy discussion about putting the remaining dollars in reserve. We took a vote that night. I don't remember how many of us were present, but there was a quorum. We had 4 absent. So we had a quorum in order to do business as a full commission. And we took a vote and we allocated those dollars on that night with the one exception of the neighborhood grants. And then I requested that that come forward for discussion to Administration and Human Services. And when that came to the committee that night, there were like 9 items, which we did not ask for. So that's the action you're seeing here. We voted to approve the neighborhood grants, and because it had been discussed the night of the special session, we voted to move the park benches forward as well. So just for clarity, 5 commissioners did not make these decisions. The decisions to spend the ARPA dollars that were made that night were made by a quorum of the full commission in a special meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just for reference, the September 4th minute should be in all of you all's packets if you want to reference that for clarity. Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7. So on Commissioner Burrows, so going back into reserves, would that go back into the county reserves?
Yes. if I understand correctly, that's what our budget director stated, that, and the motion was made that evening to put it into the county reserves.
And then, and it wouldn't be able to be transferred out into the, somehow go into the city side or consolidated funds that we have with the county and the city to go over to, it would be allocated to the county side of our budget. Is that correct?
Shelley Knieven, Chief Financial Officer, and that is correct. It would take an action of the commission to reallocate those dollars, so it cannot be done administratively.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ware.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think we need to take any action. The money isn't going anywhere. It's still in the reserves, it's still in the county budget. If we as a commission want to make the commitment to all access benches, then we should give direction to administration and CFO to work with Parks and Rec to see if it's doable. But I do not think that can be a motion. We can just, as consensus, give that direction to administration and budget to look at it. But I do not think action needs to be taken because these funds have not moved. They are still there and they will remain there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that what you stated, I think staff is aware of that. I believe there is clarity for me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Are those funds put in the general fund or the reserve fund for clarity?
Shelley Knieven, Chief Financial Officer, they are put in the county's general fund balance, so the reserve. But they're separate funds, and so there's a city fund balance and there's a county fund balance, and it's in the county side.
Okay. As a result of the passage of the neighborhood grants that was approved tonight, what's the remaining balance? If you know it. If you don't, that's fine.
I apologize. I did not calculate that number. The original was 1.485 and we just adopted 35,000. So it's about 1.45 million that's remaining. I'll get that exact number and email that out to the commission tomorrow.
Okay. Just trying to follow the procedure, and you don't have to respond either way. It doesn't sound like you do, but I have a question for the commission before I move. It's my understanding that is there a consensus that you all want these funds to stay as are in the fund that our CFO had just talked about? And if so, then there's no need for a special meeting to discuss this item next week. Okay. Get that, Administrator. So staff knows that, so we will cancel that meeting regards to these funds moving forward. Just as a matter of moving things along, I do believe I have to ask, is there a motion for item 2? Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, can we reconsider the 35,000 that we just passed? Just asking.
It was a unanimous vote.
Okay, all right. Slid that one in, but all right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think you can, but one of you all would have to. Who? Okay. Yes, you can have a reconsideration of that vote. Yes. We'll take about a 3-minute recess just to make sure that, give our legal counsel time to just confirm what we believe as far as the rules for reconsideration. Okay. So on item number 2, just moving forward, there is no motion, no second. According to our legal counsel, that motion dies either way. So now Commissioner Lopez wanted to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion on the prevailing side to reconsider that item 1.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez made a motion to reconsider item 1, which is a resolution authorizing disbursement of ARPA funds, funding in the amount of $35,778. There's a second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Hill.
I'm just trying to understand that $35, that was not for the neighborhood.
It is. It is.
It was for the neighborhood. Okay, so in reconsideration, are we saying no versus yes? We have voted to approve it and now we're voting not to approve it?
I believe you're reconsidering, so it just puts it back in play, is my understanding. So once it's reconsidered and you all say, we want to reconsider this, the debate starts over, and then you all can make a motion from there. From my
Okay,
understanding.
thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Maris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just for clarity's sake for my colleagues, based on our rules of procedure, this motion to reconsider is not debatable, so we cannot debate it, but I want clarification on voting. I vote is to reconsider and a no vote is to not reconsider. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk roll call.
Roll call. Bynum.
No.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
No.
Burns.
No.
Ramirez.
No.
Hill.
No.
Kane.
No.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites. Davis.
No.
The motion fails.
Okay. Commissioner Stites has a question.
Stites District 7. So I guess what we're doing here now is just deciding which one we like better or not. We're picking and choosing winners and losers. Because we can't even have a discussion about where this potential money could come from a different location, right? So the park benches can't be come out for $15,000, but we like this one. So the neighborhood grant, we'll let this one go through. We can't even have a discussion about it. It's wrong.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bynum.
We had a discussion on September 4th in a special meeting where we voted that night to make approve multiple ARPA spending dollars, some of which were not for unified government items. We had a motion, a second, and a vote that night. And this one was requested to come back forward through Administration and Human Services for a discussion and bringing forward to this committee tonight, and we voted now twice. Thank you.
Thank you. That will take us to that takes us to the administrator's agenda. And the first item on the administrator's agenda is the notification received by the Unified Government regarding issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds to be issued by the Kansas Development Finance Authority for Gateway Plaza project located at 1430 North 4th Street. This resolution preserves the governing body's intent to disapprove the request. Legal, do you have comments?
Yes, thank you. Angela Lawson, Acting Chief Counsel. We've seen several of these this year. The Kansas Development Finance Authority sends a letter regarding a project that they are considering issuing bonds for. This does not create an indebtedness for the unified government. The commission can either take no action, which means that the state can continue to consider issuing the bonds. If the commission decides to disapprove or pass a resolution of disapproval, then that is sent to the state and the state cannot consider it for, I believe it's 2 years. I also believe that the developer may be here this evening to discuss and answer questions on the project.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
If the commission has two options, they can, well, obviously they can ask questions about the project. They could, if the commission decides not to do anything, then the state can proceed. And again, it does not create an indebtedness. If the commission is against the issuance of these bonds for the project, then the commission would need to vote on the motion or vote on the resolution to disapprove. Ordinance, excuse me.
Okay. The questions from the commission? Seeing none. Okay, Commissioner Hill.
I'm just a little bit confused. I'm still learning my way. Is this an opportunity where we get to hear from the development folks, or is this just in regards to it going to the state?
Council.
Maybe I just didn't understand it right.
Yes, I believe, so this is the Gateway Plaza projects, and I believe the developers are here if you wish to receive that information from them about the project.
If you can come forward. Commissioner Hill, you can direct your questions directly to him.
Can you state your name, please?
Yeah, my name is John Owen with American. My name is John Oman with American Community Developers.
Okay, so this is an opportunity for us to hear about this opportunity at Gateway. This is in my district, and I'm just curious to hear a little bit about, I think I had a conversation with you or someone.
Yep, Tom Lacey.
But I would like to allow our community hear a little bit about what your plans are, but I'm trying to understand this state piece. If you could explain that to me, that would really help me out. Okay, thank you.
You want? Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff Conway Legal, and this is unusual, I'll admit, but this is the procedure where the reason you haven't heard about this project formally is because they went to the KDFA directly. So that's Kansas Development Finance Authority. So instead of asking for incentives from this body, they just simply went to the state. The state is set up to do this. And so the statute is written in a strange way. It basically lays it all out, but in one sentence says the locals can express their disapproval within 15 days after receiving notice. And that's why we're here. And I understand that it's kind of difficult to weigh in with disapproval or approval when you don't know much about the project because it hasn't been presented to you. So this is kind of a mini presentation that they could fill in the commission tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. And so that means no incentives from the UG, everything comes from the state.
Yes,
It's
all of our
not-
funding is coming from the state and federal governments. We are asking for no county money, no city money, and at this time, we're not asking for any tax abatement. So it's fully state and federal funded.
And just a couple other quick questions. Number one, should everything get approved, when would the potential build begin? What would the property management piece look like? What would the retention be potentially for the residents?
Sure, yeah, I can give you just a general overview. And I also have Jim Harrigan here with me. He's the Executive Vice President of Independent Management Services, who is our management agent. We've worked together for 35 years, ACD and IMS, and so we work very closely together. To answer your first question, the construction will begin, we're expected to begin in the first quarter of 25, so pretty quick here. We have received commitments of funding from the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation for 4% LIHTC, which is why we need the private activity bonds. We also have an allocation from the IRS of solar investment tax credits to fund rooftop solar. It should be the largest rooftop residential rooftop solar array in the state, as far as we can tell. We also have an allocation of HUD green and resilient retrofit funds, which are specifically marked towards energy efficiency improvements and decarbonization efforts, as well as weatherization efforts. So we work very closely with the Department of Housing and Urban Development on that allocation, as well as the local HUD KC office to get their support in this project as well. So part of that will be, like I said, the rooftop solar. As part of that program, we will achieve National Green Building Standards Gold certification with net zero. Project will operate at net zero, which means we will produce as much or more energy that we will consume, which is pretty exciting, as well as by significant energy efficiency improvements. So we're going to remove all gas-fired equipment, specifically furnaces and cooking equipment, and they will be replaced with all electrified equipment, HVAC equipment, and cooking equipment. There will be new windows, roofs, roof insulation, doors, and other energy efficiency improvements. Unit improvements include paint, flooring, bathrooms, kitchens, the whole thing. We're going to replace everything. Exterior improvements, we're going to repitch the roofs. I don't know, you may be familiar, the property's right down the street, but it's got a very flat roof at the moment. And so to make it look a little better and to support the solar array, we're going to lift up the roofs, repitch them, which should give it a nice new aesthetic appeal, as well as be much more functional and structurally sound. We also have to shore up the flooring. We found that the flooring is currently inadequate, so we have to shore that up, as well as other exterior improvements, new security and life safety improvements. There will be paint, new stucco. Pretty much everything is getting touched that isn't, hasn't already been replaced in the last 5 years or so. So our total hard costs, including, general contract contingency, is a little bit over 18 million that will go directly into the project. We'll be using local contractors for that to the extent possible, considering manpower and availability. But to the extent possible, we'll be using local contractors. To answer your question, we will not be doing any permanent dislocation or relocation of the tenants. We will be keeping them in place to the extent possible. We have a contingency plan where if a resident's unit is offline for past say 5 p.m. in the evening, then they will be given a hotel that will be fully paid for by the developer and the owner. So nothing out of pocket for any tenant who has to be moved to a hotel for a night or two while their units continue to be renovated. We expect the vast majority of tenants that will stay. This property has, it's currently has some physical deterioration and deferred maintenance issues, and so vacancy has been running very high as is. There's been a lot of turnover, and our intent is to come in and stabilize that to obviously the extent possible. And we believe that the rehabilitation will go a long way in that. We also are going to be doing a lot of security improvements to improve crime in the neighborhood as well as the social situation on site. It's, you know, been a factor in the high vacancy rate, and so our intent is to stabilize that. Jim can, you know, speak to a little bit more when I'm done with the rehab portion about what we plan on doing to stabilize and create a long-term positive living environment for the tenants. Other than that, like I said, we received significant support. We held a tenant meeting a few weeks ago, or in August, right? Yeah, in August. We solicited some feedback. We got a lot of positive feedback from the tenants. Obviously, they would like their, you know, their homes replaced, and so we would like to renovate them for them. So we got a lot of positive feedback from them that we're incorporating into our scope of work. And we also had a meeting with the local elementary principal of the local elementary school, as well as a local pastor. I believe HUD was there as well, and to solicit some neighborhood feedback, because it's not just obviously the community itself, but it's going to impact the entire neighborhood, whether that's, you know, the crime situation that's there right now, as well as the, you know, aesthetic appeal and the investment that's going into the neighborhood. So we invited neighborhood stakeholders and got some feedback from them as well, and I believe you've all been given copies of the support letters we got. Overall, we think the rehab is going to really stabilize the property. It's going to improve its financial condition, which will allow it to you know, cure a lot more of the maintenance issues that come up on time, and so we don't have a continually deteriorating property any longer. I also believe that it's going to be transformative, not just for the property, but for the neighborhood, with the clean energy improvements and the aesthetic appeal. So, Jim, if you want to come up and talk a little bit about what management is going to do to help stabilize property.
Hi, my name's Jim Harrigan. I'm Executive Vice President, Independent Management Services. John mentioned we're the management agent. Been affiliated with the company for 32 years, and this is the type of properties we focus on: affordable housing that is needing an infusion of capital. And parts the capital, and then the other part comes to where I'm at on the management side. As John mentioned, we've had meetings with the residents there. I've walked every single unit there. I've had multiple meetings with the residents. I've had conversations with the police department, and, you know, in my conversation with the police department, and it's obvious when I visit the property, there's no management there right now. So there's, you know, the police mentioned there was a sweep a year ago, and then it came right back. We have a number of stringent policies that preserve the property from stabilizing, and there are some great residents there. There's residents there that have been there for 40 years, 30 years. I mean, they deserve to have quality housing, and what's there is atrocious right now. So as a management company, what we do, number one, we assess what's going on, and we are not a company that takes money over what's going on. If there's a tenant that's doing the wrong thing, we're going to get involved with the police, and we are going to be on the front line and moving that tenant out and letting him do stuff the other place. The exciting thing about this property, if anybody's been there, there's one point of ingress right next to the elementary school. So we've had conversations with the police department from preserving the security there, where as part of the budget, we're going to be putting license plate readers at the entranceway. We have a very robust camera system that will meet with the police department to go over and review and make sure it hits all what they're looking for, in addition to increased lighting. The cameras, we've done this in other communities across the country. We give the police department access to our cameras. They have access 24/7 on their devices. So we work very closely with the police department. In addition to that, and in addition to getting the folks that are out there, when the folks are coming in, we have a very stringent background check when they come in. We're not just going to let anybody in. Quite honestly, it's probably 1 out of every 10 applicants gets in, because we have a stringent background check. It's not just about the money, it's about getting the folks that will help stabilize the community in there. And then in addition, once they get into the community, we do unit inspections 4 times a year. We're in the units, making sure everything's okay. And if, again, there's things going on that shouldn't be, we write infractions. If there's a police involvement, we move forward with evictions. So we're very hands-on, and we work very closely. And again, we're very confident in this community, the way it's set up to stabilize it in the short order. We're excited to be partners with the community, and it's an exciting project.
Thank you. I just want to understand one more thing. You mentioned earlier about the residents, and you said you would just relocate them there in the campus somewhere while their unit is being redone.
Exactly. We'll do one of two things. We'd either relocate them within the community,
Or if it's not, some of the units don't need as much work as others. So there's sometimes in the communities where we'll, again, it's, we've all had our, if you got remodeling going on in your home, you're out during the day, you come home in the evening. So sometimes we'll set up the community center with meals, with water, so they're out during the day. And then there's other communities, if it's needed, we will put them into hotels. So we work, it's different based on everything, but it's one of those three things happens. And we work closely. And if there's other residents that have special needs or different needs, we work with each one individually.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
that information.
Thank you, Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, we've, honestly, we've heard this time and time again, just like right down the street, same pitch, same everything. Now it's Ollie Bob and the 40 Thieves. When you bring people in, what kind of background check do you guys do? That's, is there background check when you bring people in to live there?
We do a full background check. It's a criminal background check. And, every single resident goes through the same background check. And that's why I mentioned it's probably 1 out of every 10 applicants goes in because of our background check.
You were just a little skeptical here because like I said, we've heard this time and time again.
Understood. And again, as John mentioned, we met with the local HUD office. HUD's involved. What's that?
As a KHRC is involved,
Yeah.
the contract administrator.
And from a HUD standpoint, again, I appreciate your comment. I'd love you to vet us out because we've worked with HUD offices throughout the country. So it's not, where we're somebody new that's hiding under the radar. I mean, we're very well recognized with HUD. HUD selects us for different properties throughout the country because of what we do. We're very proud of what we do, but I completely understand your skepticism.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion? All right, there's
a motion to advance the resolution.
Please, I'll explain the posture.
go ahead.
So the ordinance tracks the statute closely. The statute says the local can express disapproval. So the ordinance is written up to express disapproval. If there's no motion, then it operates. There's no UG money on the line. There's no bonds locally or anything like that. It's all state and federal money. So you really don't have anything on the hook. It's just a matter of, if you want to express disapproval, this is the vehicle to do it. If you do not, there's no need to adopt anything.
Okay. Again, is there a motion? Commissioner Burrows?
Thank you. I make a motion to send the letter on behalf of the unified government. I don't like the process without the engagement of the commission. This short, brief overview is not enough to pacify some of the questions that have arisen out of the past. I do believe one of the commissioners raised up some of our experience with those over the years past that have really called on resources in this community for the wrong reasons. And so I'd make a motion that we support the resolution.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
No.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
No.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
No.
motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. We will now transition. That concludes the regular portion of our commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn us as the Board of Unified Government Commission to be able to call us back to order as the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Is there a motion?
David, so moved.
Motion, second, clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, do any members of the commissioner and county administrator wish to set aside any item on the land bank consent agenda?
Davis move to approve.
There is a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call, Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
No.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you all so much. We have no further business tonight on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question from the folks. They were asking the effect of that motion, Commissioner Burrows, was that if that vote was in favor of the ordinance, that means that you've expressed your disapproval on the project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
For clarity, council, clerk, can you bring clarity to the vote and what that means with chief counsel?
Yes, the motion made was to support the resolution.
Yes.
So
And it passed by a vote of 7-3.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Commissioner Townsend.
thank you. I just want to clearly state it on the record. The better thing to do was what had been recommended, in my opinion, the first time, and take no action, then Gateway would have gotten the funds. So if, at least that's what I would have wanted to see in support of that project. So please clarify for me, Counselor, will Gateway get these state funds or not, based on the vote taken?
they will not.
I certainly regret my vote. We should have taken no action in the beginning. Thank you.
I believe, Commissioner, if you took a vote, you can always reconsider.
Well, I'd move to reconsider.
Okay. Well, I haven't adjourned yet, so I'm gonna go back. Because I put us in land bank. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to take us back to the Board of Unified Government Commissioners from the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Is there a motion?
This,
If I may, for just point of order, did we adjourn the
No.
Land Bank Board of Trustees?
No, not yet. That's what I'm doing now.
Okay.
I'm
I
doing.
thought the motion was to open the full commission.
No.
So
to
the motion is
move us
to-
from Land Bank to.
Okay, so this motion is to adjourn the Land Bank Board of
Yes.
Trustees so that we can open the full
Yes.
commission. Okay, I second that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, for clarity, this is to take us out of the Land Bank Board of Trustees and move us back into the full Board of Commissioners. There's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Mayor, if I could have clarity, I don't believe we have a motion.
There was a motion by,
I thought you made the motion, Mayor.
I believe I made the motion, yes.
I was seconding them. I
And
second.
there's a
that.
second,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call, Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
No.
Townsend,
aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
No.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay. We are back in as the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Townsend, I believe that you had a motion. Mr. Townsend.
Commissioner Townsend, you're muted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If a motion is appropriate, it would be to reconsider the resolution approving ARPA allocation for neighborhoods and grants. So that would be my motion to reconsider and overturn the previous vote, if that's appropriate.
No.
No, Commissioner, we're, just for clarity, so you're sure, we've already done that. We've came back in the session to allow you the opportunity, because you mentioned Gateway Plaza project, to reconsider the resolution preserves the governing body's intent to disapprove the request for financing authority for the Gateway Plaza project located at 1430 North 4th Street.
You're correct, Mayor. Thank you. I turned the wrong page. Yes, that's my intention. Yes. So,
So you did make a motion to reconsider that. Is that correct?
yes, that was my intention to reconsider the previous vote taken on that.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'm not making a second. I'm just trying to understand when we vote. If we vote aye, is that disapproval or
We're
approval?
not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're voting to roll it all back
Okay.
so the commission can reconsider.
Mr. Mayor, just so my intention is clear, it's just to reconsider this issue.
Yes.
So you can take no action, or if you feel so moved, make another one. I wouldn't recommend it, but so this is about just reconsidering that issue. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So there's a motion to reconsider the action that was taken on the administrator's agenda, which would have been item number 1. Is there a second?
Bynum, second.
It's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call. I'm sorry. Before we do that, Commissioner Ramirez has a question.
I cannot speak because it's a non-debatable motion, so I'll have to speak after the motion is voted on.
I do not believe Commissioner Bynum was on the prevailing side of that motion.
I rescind my second.
It'd have to be someone on the prevailing side of the motion.
All right, second.
Okay. Clerk, can you verify that? Dr. Hill has a second.
Dr. Hill was on the prevailing side.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. It's been verified by the clerk. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
No.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
No.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
No.
Lopez,
No.
Stites, Davis.
Aye.
The vote is 5-5, Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make some quick remarks. It was stated that, this project didn't come before us. We didn't have much details. That's not, we don't write those rules. Those are state statute rules. So I don't understand why we're penalizing a developer for following state statute by the letter when we have no say in how that's set. Now, if we want to in the future, then that's something we can look into and talk to the state about allowing local government to set up some rules when it comes to KDFA funding. So I just feel we're setting a bad precedent by just saying, just because you didn't come to us when they legally did not have to because they were following state statute. And so I apologize because we are for no reason penalizing you for following the rule of law and following the letter. So I apologize for what happened.
Okay, Commissioner Davis.
All right, so I'm going to try my best to summarize what just happened because this is very, very confusing. Okay, and legal, help me out. According to state statute, if there's a developer that is applying for Kansas Department or Kansas Finance Department, KDFA, if they're applying for that funding, they have 2 weeks there's 2 weeks for the municipality to express disapproval. Do I have that correct?
You have that correct.
Okay, so you all, the developers from Gateway, applied for funding from the state of Kansas. By that state statute, there's 2 weeks for us, which means the closest full commission meeting that we would have to consider whether or not we would disapprove. All we are telling you is no, or we do nothing. Our yes doesn't mean anything because this is not our money. Okay, and so what we are talking about here aren't our taxpayer dollars. They are not our incentives. This would not go to ED&F at all because it is just a 2-week period for it to appear on the full commission agenda, which it would have to, for us to make a decision. Now, to get to your particular project, it's a $21 million investment that will bring amenities and improvements, needed security, that is very, very much in line with what we need for developers and for management of apartments. And so I think we should give them a chance. I see just within this project summary that's very comprehensive. And you all aren't taking any of our dollars. And so all the permitting fees go to the UG. All of the taxes, the property taxes, full market, go to the UG. BPU, whether it's water, electric, wastewater, go to the UG. The density that is needed in the Northeast, all of those things come and we are not footing the bill for your project. And so that is why I think we should let this go. Let's not even touch this. Let it ride and allow you all to do what you said you've come to do. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and again, if I can just comment on that, we're stabilizing the neighborhood. And again, it's not, I don't want you guys to think that we're trying to slide something in under where we didn't present it to you. I mean, we still have to abide by all the rules and laws of the city. We're going to be pulling permits. So it's, again, as you mentioned, it's the confusion way it's written. So I don't want everybody to think that we're just trying to rush in here and do something, but we're stable, and you nailed it. And if you look at our company, we pay all our tax bills. We've never lost a profit for taxes. We pay our water bills. We pay our employees. Our employees get insurance. They don't spend 1 penny on insurance. We pay our employees 100% of their insurance. We pay our employees. We pay our bills. We pay our contractors. So I understand your concern that there's other developers. I, welcome any questions. I welcome you to look into us. We have never lost a property for not paying our bills. We've been around for, again, over 35 years. So I don't want you to think that we're trying to just rush something in here. It's just the way the rules are. But again, we still have to go through all approval processes. We're still gonna, if there's any changes in the site, we're gonna have to do site plan. So it's not like we're avoiding all that. It's just, this is one step getting to the point where then we take the official documents to the city to get permits and approvals, just to clarify it.
I just want to make one other thing clear. This source of funds, the private activity bonds are a requirement of the 4% LIHTC program set by the federal government. This is not a source of funds that we are taking because we're trying to fill a gap. It's to meet a federal requirement, and the non-issuance of the bonds would remove our eligibility for 4% LIHTC, and the project would no longer move forward without an allocation taxes and bond financing. And the Northeast neighborhood would lose $18 million in investment in hard construction costs because we can no longer move forward. We can no longer be considered for bonds for at least a year, and we would lose our allocation from the Kansas Housing Resources Corporation.
Thank you. Council, just for point of clarity, they approved this tonight,
This ordinance,
not approve the ordinance, but if this goes through to allow them to get their funding in whatever fashion, they still have to go through all our planning, our zoning, our permitting, all those things that any developer would have to go through. There's no way they can circumvent meeting our code requirements, our building requirements, anything of that nature. This is just to give them the funding to move forward, to get to that point. Is that correct?
that's correct. They'd have to build as any other project in the county. They'd have to follow all of that. They're just simply not seeking the local funds. There's no IRBs or anything like that. They went directly to the state, and then actually they're dealing with this statute that has that one sentence in it that says the locals can disapprove, which would stay the procedure, actually stay the funding for 1 year.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we're trying to comply with that sentence that's in the state statute.
As well you should. Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, are you the same boys that gave that pitch over in Johnson County, got shot down in Lenexa?
Same what? The same boys? What?
Are you the same guys that went, the same outfit that went to Johnson County, gave your pitch and then got shot down in Lenexa?
Nope.
Okay, they just disapproved of this whole deal over there
Yeah.
too.
No, that we're not. I mean, and again, I completely understand everybody's concern. I mean, we're preserving affordable housing and I know there's a need for affordable housing and we're preserving affordable housing. And again, we're not, as we just restated, he stated, we're not circumventing anything. It's just the way it works. So we still got to come back in and present all our plans and do everything else, just one step in the development process. But no, we have not been shot down.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
Thing on that point, this is not a shelter. We are not, you all are not providing wraparound services. We're not talking about a homeless shelter or anything
No,
like
this is
that.
independent living for families. Those are, I mean, anybody who's familiar with the communities, there's families, there's a school right there. There's a lot of children there. The way the children are living right now is appalling. I mean, the fact that this is even allowed to take place in the city is, I mean, we're preserving affordable housing for those families there. And again, we've met with the principal. We're working with programs that we can implement. They can use our community room. We have that large, I don't know how many are you familiar with it, but there's a huge field out there, which is a softball field or a field at one point. We've talked to the elementary school that's right next door about granting them use of that for different activities. So yeah, it's not, we are not a shelter. It's 100% independent living for families, preserving affordable housing.
Okay, and so I think that's very
100% affordable. It's
100%
100% affordable.
Gotcha. And even with that, you're still going to be paying full market rate property taxes, sales tax, all those things locally to the unified government.
Correct.
All of our permitting fees to the unified
There's
government.
no modifications.
BPU, so water, electricity, sewer, stormwater, all of that market rate, no incentives, all to the unified government, all to BPU. Your project will do.
No local incentives.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just wanted to say to the developers who come before us, like I said, I regret my earlier vote because the intention is just the language. This language is something we normally do not see. It's a resolution expressing disapproval. Usually we just vote something up or down, but just so it's clear, the gateway homes have been around since the 60s. So any owner developer who is coming in and trying to do upgrades, much needed, I am in support of. It's already been expressed that you're not shortcutting anything. This is going to do nothing but help the current housing stock that we have that is in need of repairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say too, I am in support of the program. I live in the area. I see the children going to school. It can be very scary. I walk down there all the time. I've been doing it for 20 years. So I know the danger that could be in the community. So I definitely would welcome that. I welcome any residents and any developer that will come in and bring stability to the housing in this particular area in the 4th District. It's rough down there. And so we need the security. We need residents that care about the community. And I'm glad for the residents that you did meet with. Other developers many times don't even meet with the residents. So and I'm happy that it was brought out that you get to do nothing without all the regular steps that the unified government require for any developer coming in. It's something we really need in this area. Thank you.
And as you mentioned, I mean, there is, as I
Sir,
mentioned when I talked, sorry.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, just real quick. So let's say you get all this going, you build it. What's the rent on these places?
It's an affordable community, so the rent's based on 30% of the residents' income. So it's based solely on their income.
Okay,
so the rent does not go up based on our investment. It will be preserved as affordable housing, and the rent is based on 30% of their income.
It will continue to be based.
So if a guy makes 40,000 a year, is that too much?
40,000 a year in that community would be too much. It's meant for affordable housing.
So
Yeah, the vast-
what's your cap?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what the cap is. It's a 60% of the local area median income. I don't off the top of my head know what the local area. median income is.
20,000 a year?
Let me actually
Probably-
restate that,
yeah.
because if you're it depends on your size of your family. So if you're
Yeah.
40,000, you have 3 kids, yes, you can qualify. If you're single at 40,000, you don't.
Right.
But it's, again, with all the money going in, there is no increase in anybody's, because that's, when we met with the residents, and again, as you mentioned, it was built in the 60s. There's 4 or 5 residents that have been there since the early 70s. And the one lady was in tears because she remembers how it used to be, and she was so excited when we presented all the, what we're gonna do. And again, we're gonna do it. I mean, it's gotta be done per our plan. We don't get this money. They're not gonna give us the money and then we don't do the work. So, I mean, she was, again, talking about the 60s, the 70s and how it was and the schools and all that. But again, it's preserving affordable housing, and it's strictly based on their income.
Right.
So it will not increase. Nobody will be, all of a sudden, we're gonna get these skyrocketing rents where we're gonna be charging, $2,500 to somebody that's used to paying, 30% of the rent. It's
So
preserved.
basically you're saying, apartment B3, his rent 600, and apartment B4, his is 900.
Based on their
Right,
income.
based on their income.
It could be, or it could be the same. It's all based on their income.
Right, and to be transparent, the vast majority have a 0 income or less than 10, I should say, less than $10,000 income. And so they pay, maybe a couple $100 a month at the property.
Yeah, this is geared towards affordable housing. I mean, it's
Deeply affordable.
Yeah.
Now we're setting our LIHTC set asides at 60% of area median income. But that doesn't mean that the tenants qualify for that. That's just our cap is 60% area median income.
And the thing is, if you look at that community, it's needed in that community. I mean, it meets the incomes of the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on the financing authority that you're wanting to use, is there a mandated project timeline for when your work would be complete?
Yeah, it's based on the KHRC's timeline and the LIHTC timeline. So we have about 24 months from start to finish. We expect to place in service sometime early to mid 2026 with 100% completion within a couple months after that. So prior to the end of 2026.
I'm sorry, the front part of that, if you were to get the the financing, you would start what date?
We would begin in the first quarter of 2025. I can't give you a hard date because we don't have it yet, but we would expect to place the property in service in summer of 2026. So about 18 months until everything's up and running and we're good, There may be some punch list items, minor stuff outstanding, landscaping, that kind of thing, and that may fall into the fall, but it will be done before the end of 26.
What happens to the tenants while you're doing the work?
Tenants will remain in their units.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll either be temporarily moved to vacant units, or if it's just minor work in their unit, because it's not, it's in pretty good shape, there may be a day room in the community building where they can kind of hang out, couches, snacks, that kind of stuff. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns.
Yes. What cities do you two reside in?
I live in Detroit.
In Detroit,
Mhm.
both of you?
Yep.
But you would have local management.
Yes.
Yeah, we have local management. We're in states. We already have a community in Kansas right now in Junction City. And we have communities throughout the country. So we'll have local, but I mean, I'm out here at least during the project, and I'll probably be out here once a month, if not longer. So
Yeah.
we're very hands-on.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Stites.
Besides District 7, so nobody's asked yet about as far as if this goes through and what's your commitments to using local minority, women, union workers?
So all of our contractors will be local contractors. We have an in-house general contractor. They hire local contractors. So they will come in and everyone will be local. They do their best to hire reflective of the local community subject to manpower availability. The project is large. And so when I asked them the question, they wanted to make sure that I qualify that with the project is large. And so to maintain our timeline, we have timelines set by the state that we have to meet, and maintain that timeline. We have to take manpower into consideration as well. But we are committed to making sure that all of our contractors are local, and minority and reflective of the community to the extent possible.
Well, so, legal, will we have a, development type agreement where we can hold them to these standards? And if not,
No, because we are not, the unified government is
Mhm.
not putting any funds forward for this or offering any
And
other incentives for it.
then the state, they can't impose any type, can they? Or can we lobby through the state to impose, since they're funding, giving these funds,
Not,
that they use local and, support our local and minority and women owned?
not in this instance, but it sounds like the commission desires some changes to the state statute, so that might be something to put in the legislative package.
I didn't answer all the question. We are also using Davis-Bacon wages, which are prevailing wages set by the federal government.
I didn't hear what you said there.
I said we are also using Davis-Bacon wages, which are prevailing wages set by the federal government.
Bacon.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Commissioner King.
Did I wake up? Davis Bacon.
Mhm.
Wow. I wasn't glad to see you a minute ago, but I'm glad to see you now. That brings the money to us. So, and that's why there's some confusion,
Mhm.
because we didn't see this stuff. So, you just, I probably would have voted the other way if you'd have said Davis Bacon in the first place, but it's, that sounds really good.
It's unfortunate the way this is presented, but again.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, I
not me, not with prevailing wage. Oh, hell no.
To be fair, we also get a very short notice on these things. It's like, slap this together, send it in, let's go. And so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We understand.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. So just to recap, all right, so if we are in favor of the project, that means we don't have to do anything.
That's correct.
If there is a motion, the motion would be to stop the project. It would be to approve the disapproval. So if you vote yes for the disapproval, that means you all do not get the funding,
Depending on how that motion is.
depending on
worded.
how the motion is worded.
For sure.
But just want to make it very, very clear, what's on the floor is a disapproval
Correct.
of the state funding for your project. That is what we are debating, is a disapproval of your project, okay?
Right.
Thank you.
It's sent to the state, and again, we still have to go through all the approval
You're
process.
good. We got you.
So it's not like we're off the race. We still have a lot of approvals with the city that we've got to do.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you heard from a couple of the commissioners. It's very difficult to look at our history in this community and have developers stand before us and make commitments when developers have stood before us in the past and have failed this community, failed the very people that you're wanting to help. And I respect that and appreciate that. But when do we have, as a body, an opportunity to see the truth in the pudding? I hope you prove us wrong, that you're going to have a development project that is worthy of this community, not in 5 years, but in 25 years. This developments that have come in with low income tax credit housing in the past, the old HUD, is what has been detrimental to our community over the years. The resources that we have to put in, I read the part of the agreement, the overview that you had, and you're going to do additional screening. And then you stand before us and say, you're not going to move tenants out. You're going to hire additional security and put up cameras. That tells us already that the community has an issue within the development itself. You're not from within the state, you're from outside our state, and you're going to have a local maintenance crew doing this work. All of those same things have been stated in the past with low income and HUD development here. And that's our concern. Those of us that have lived in this community and watched the deterioration and the demolition by deterioration that occurs in this community, our citizens don't deserve that. And the only time we get to hold you accountable is when you're standing right here. And to make those points permanent in record, that you will do what you state you will do and not in 15 years sell this off, or 20 years, whatever the requirement is in the feds. I think it's 15. So if you turn around and develop this, take your money up front, and I'm to understand there's solar in this, so there won't be that much BPU usage. It'll be more solar, because if I read the project properly, there's going to be a tremendous amount of solar opportunity. So that's going to cut down on the utility bills, which frees up additional money to be spent. I guess my comment would be, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire as individually. And I would hope that codes is down there. I hope inspections is down there. And if we have tenants down there that aren't doing right by the rest of the tenants, that you're going to be the first ones to come down and evict them.
Yeah.
And put tenants in there that deserve to be there in that neighborhood, and treat the neighborhood and those that choose to do right in that community with respect and dignity. That's where I come from. The broken promises and the history of this community has been demonstrated in many pockets throughout this community. And I've lived in public housing, and I know what goes on, and I know how it turns out to be what it is. I don't believe anybody in this community deserves that. I do respect the comment you made. Everybody in this community deserves a safe, healthy home in which to live in. And if this provides that through your development, so be it. Please prove me wrong in my comments that you will do what you say you will do. But rest assured that I will be watching. Rather that, and that's not a threat. That's just a commitment to the people in this community to ensure that you deliver on the product you're talking about. Because this is the first time we've had a chance to visit.
Yeah, and to address that, just again, I completely understand public housing. My family grew up in public housing, and just to address that we are not developers that come in, fix up, sell. I started with the company, as I said, 32 years ago in maintenance. I moved from maintenance to assistant manager. I went from assistant manager, and oversaw rehab at a 168 unit senior deal in 1994. That's communities called Elmwood Towers. Since that time, we've done another rehab. And Elmwood Towers is still owned by us. We do not buy, fix up, flip. We don't buy, run down, give the keys away. As I stated, you can look at our background. We've never lost a building because of taxes. We pay our employees. We pay 100% of their health insurance. So I completely understand your concerns, and I'm looking very forward to having you at the grand opening and proving you wrong, because I guarantee you that's what we're doing. And we're not, I understand this current. We don't flip. We buy in long-term hold. And if you look at our portfolio, as I mentioned, we met with HUD. If you want to, we can refer you to HUD as far as we met with, they understand our background. So I get what you're saying, because it's quite honestly, to walk through that community, and I think the owner hasn't even had it that long, it's disgusting. I mean, it is appalling that what's going on there. The community is 60% vacant. You got 8 units that have been burned, that haven't been replaced. I mean, it is appalling that's going in your community. And again, we want to fix it, and we are going to fix it, I assure you.
Thanks to the prior commitment of the people that had it before you.
Yeah.
And that's my point. You made
I
my
get it.
point exactly. So, but I appreciate it. Mayor, thank you.
Yeah.
Really, thank you.
No, and I 100% understand.
I'd just like to weigh in. I believe you've already stated that that property is already designated low income.
Yes.
It's been there. I've worked in this community for several years. At some point, I was over officers that had to answer calls there. I've seen the deplorable conditions in that area. I know that people are currently still living there. They want safe and livable conditions for their families, for their children. And what I'm hearing is you all are willing to provide that if you get your grant. And that's an if you get your grant, correct?
Correct.
And then, so it's nothing new that you're doing other than trying to rehab and give this community something that we can be proud of for all our residents. And these residents just happen to be at the lower spectrum of the socioeconomic ladder. They deserve to have quality, safe, and accommodations to raise their families and come home and say they have a nice place to live right here in the heart of the urban core of Kansas City, Kansas. For far too long, it's no secret, I've championed and really lobbied that we invest in the disinvested, disenfranchised, and this just happens to be one of those red-lined areas that has existed for far too long in Kansas City, Kansas. I urge our commissioners to see this as an opportunity to bring some type of revitalization to this area, not just because it's needed, but because these individuals deserve it. It is one of the arteries, the key arteries to the gateway, not just to Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas, when you come off the Lewis and Clark Viaduct onto Washington Boulevard, but it's also a gateway to the great state of Kansas. And we need to have something that really displays that our community in Kansas is something great and that we have nice neighborhoods. And so I thank you all for seeing that opportunity and seeking this grant. I'm going to continue to advocate for those folks east of 635, especially in those areas, in those census tracts and those zip codes that have been marginalized and really are struggling. And I urge this commission to continue to see value in all people, and that we at least try to be equitable in the delivery of goods, services, and resources, so everybody has an opportunity to enjoy a healthy lifestyle when you talk about our health outcomes in Wyandotte County. And unfortunately, that area east of 635 in the Northeast just happens to be one of those areas that we need to take a hard look at and do better. It's sad that over the decades it's been neglected, and we're at this point. But I believe this isn't something new, not new affordable housing, not new light tech. It's already there. These folks are going to be there. It's not going away. And this mayor supports making sure that these people have a decent living environment, hopefully for the years and months ahead. So thank you, and I applaud you all. So again, I think Commissioner Davis brought it up along with our council. A no vote, if you choose to do so. Well, there was a reconsideration. So we're back to square one. So now we're reconsidering this. You can leave it alone and not vote at all. And it'll allow this to go forward. If you leave it alone, it passes. It passes forward. They can move forward. Yes. They can move forward. All right, Commissioner Bynum. It was reconsidered.
Thank you. We took a vote earlier and that vote denied their funding. And then we had a motion to reconsider in a second, and we took that vote and that vote passed.
It was a clean slate.
But did that vote rescind vote number one, which was a denial of these funds?
Yes, because it was reconsidered.
Okay.
They pulled their vote.
And so we can choose not to vote right now.
Yes.
And they will be allowed to continue their funding application.
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Is there a motion? I gotta ask. Seeing none. All right. We are done. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Looking forward to great things.
Yes. So
Now, we are done. There is no further business that I'm aware of. Clerk, am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? All right. There is a motion and a second to adjourn. Thank you all for your time and patience with us tonight. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows. Townsend,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Hill. Kane. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites. Davis. Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Thank you.
So-
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.